your pain is your control. Pain actually arises when you want to grow, when you want to heal, when you want to achieve or get to where you want to be. It doesn't have to be the form of chronic physical pain. It can be emotional pain, it can be uncomfortableness, but it's important to know that chronic pain is here when you're trying to take control over the natural flow, over the natural process, where your ego, your mind thinks it knows better than your body and then the flow of life. Because situations happen, life flows. We do not need to interfere, but if we feel like we do, based on some past traumatic experiences, we like to interfere, we like to take control, we like to stop those situations. And this is where when we stop the situation, or we cannot really stop it, but we try to stop it, and this is where we're enclosing the energy within our body, and we're causing tension that then creates pain. And this is in a very practical example. When you get pain, when cramps arise, what we do is we cramp into the cramp. When I've been experiencing migraines or chronic pain in the body, I remember I always cramped even more along the pain, because that was just how it felt, right? Like, to be smaller, you're basically enclosing yourself into the cramp. You're trying to stop the pain. You're cramping into it. Unfortunately, this helps the severity of the pain. This helps to develop how much pain you have, instead of opening, inviting the pain. And I know I say this as if it was easy. It took me years to be able to approach pain with welcoming it, with opening myself to it. It can be, it doesn't have to be. I believe it doesn't have to be, but for me it was extremely difficult to open myself to pain, to welcome it. And it also took very severe pain for me to be at that point where I knew that if I cramped into that pain, I wouldn't be able to go through it, that it would be too much if I cramped into the pain, if I tried to resist it, if I opposed any form of resistance towards the flow, the flow of the pain. And if you delve deep into pain, often it can be either just there, stagnant, sitting dormant, or it's in the cycles, right? It's pulsating. Migraines often have cycles where it's like extremely bad in the top, and then it releases, and then it again. And so it's like a spasmic pain that circulates, and it's as hard as it can be. I invite you to try to approach the pain with the openness, with trying to open yourself and inviting the pain. Just try to experience it, because it is so easy, and I'm a great example of that, to just reach the high, because we tolerate pain, right? It's coming, it's arising, we tolerate it until it gets to the intolerable point where it's too much. That's when we take our medication. We wanted to survive it, we wanted to go through it, but we didn't, and we take some medication or whatever, we suppress it because it's here and it's too much, I can't. But the difference, very different approach is, one, even allowing yourself to experience pain. I had to allow myself to experience the fullness of some migraines or some pain episodes, I would say, in order to better understand, because I really decided to understand my pain. I just, it's quite hard, I would say. It's very challenging to go through the full the full power of your pain, and I would say it requires some preparation before you approach it fully, because I before tried many times to go through it without suppressing it, and I just wouldn't manage, and it took me a lot of mental work and a lot of energetical healing in order for me to be able to experience it naturally, without guilt, without trying to suppress it, without trying to fix myself, and just really create the environment where I could experience pain for hours. And it's I wouldn't want to choose that if I could. Obviously, I still do not want pain arising, but I understand that we need to work with it. We cannot pretend it's not here. We cannot make this problem smaller. We cannot listen to everyone who's never experienced pain like this and is telling us it can't be that bad, you can't be in so much pain, and that's okay that someone can't understand. But really the only approach that actually released in as a result released the frequency and the intensity of pain, of chronic pain, was allowing it, was inviting it, and it was spreading it into my body. And another layer of how we can understand, or how we maybe need to understand our bodies, it's what helped me was energetical healing, hands-on healing from my energetical healer. And what we did with her was basically healing the places where my pain is saved, or where I believed it originates from. And what I learned from her, and I also learned this from Louise Hay's book, You Can Heal Your Life, about you can heal your body and your life, is understanding how energy works and how the pain works. Because if it's there, it needs to be released. It needs to flow again. And often this, if we aren't aware of this, if we don't understand this, then we might not know that we can heal everything. We can heal the cells in our bodies, we can heal the cavities in our teeth. Nothing is stagnant, nothing is fixed, but the society or the environment we're in now maybe made us believe that that's just how I am, right? This is my pain, this is my disease, this is my bad tooth, this is how it is. And as soon as any pain arises, we rush into the doctors, or we rush into grabbing some medication to suppress it immediately. But what might be happening is that the original pain that's stored, that's the core pain stored inside your body, is trying to release itself. And how it often releases itself for me, for example, during the energetical healing, is through teeth, actually. Teeth represent decisiveness and wisdom, or through limbs, depending on which half of my body I'm working on. The right half of the body represents the masculine energy, the left side of the body represents the feminine energy. And so it's often that the pain will start spreading, right, from the origin. And we can see this as something negative at first if we aren't aware that this is how pain needs to flow. So if we don't understand how energy and pain works, it does need to flow. It does need to be released and restored, because if it's suppressed in some place in our body, it's the energy. We can call it pain, we can call it energy, we can call it potential. Actually, it's all the same, and it's concentrated in one place or in several places or somewhere, depending on what's your experience, and it's concentrated somewhere. It was probably the first instant of where it started concentrating in there was some experience in your past, and it was because you were scared. So in one instant you were scared, you made a decision based on that fear to protect yourself. You have this power to make this decision to protect yourself, and this is where it enclosed itself. Okay, we can imagine it as one cell enclosing itself, and then it accumulates. And throughout our lives, we convince ourselves of this belief, whatever the underlying belief is, and then we put layers on top to convince ourselves of whatever. And with pain, it's gonna be limiting beliefs as life is hard, I need to work hard, I need to suffer, etc., etc. And so when we understand, okay, there's some pain somewhere, we get the checkup from the doctors, they tell us everything's fine, you're healthy, 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 but you're not, right? You have chronic pain and it's repetitive, and you're wondering, and maybe you've even went on operations, but the result was nothing, unfortunately. That's all okay, that's in the past. You can now enter the sphere of energy, and you can start healing yourself wherever your starting point is, whatever you went through, whenever you're ready for it, whenever you feel like you're called for it, you can start healing. And it's important to understand that working with energy along with it and with the flow of life is different to maybe what you've learned, that there's a problem and you have to fix it. But that's not quite how working with energy works, because working with energy requires the understanding and trust, a lot of trust, where, okay, so we're inviting the energy out and we need to allow it to flow wherever it needs to flow, because it needs to basically refurbish and reprogram the cells in your body that carry this information of the limiting belief. Okay, so then we have the origin somewhere, and then if it's spreading into the whole right side of your body or into the whole left side of your body or wherever it might be, this is because these cells in your body need to get that new information. We're changing, we're changing, we're changing. Okay, so whenever you do these energetical shifts, the patience and the trust required is essential because of this, because we need to allow this new data. Okay, you've changed, you feel like you've changed a little thing. If you've been using one affirmation, I am satisfied with myself, for example, or I'm worthy, or I'm abundant, or money comes easily to me, or whatever, I'm healthy, I'm pain-free, whatever, and you think you change just a small thing, but the reality is a lot is going on, and we need to allow our body to process all of this and our energy to go through this. It's as if you change the code in the computer, and you change something within the code, and then everything needs to reset itself. So this is why sometimes I hear that healing has to be at first difficult or at first painful or something like that. I don't entirely agree with this. This process of spreading the pain, it doesn't have to be painful. It's only painful if you believe it is, or it has to be. But it is powerful, it is empowering, and you don't even have to feel it, but it helps if you become aware of it and if you feel, wow, this is the power I'm carrying. This is all the potential, and now it's spreading within me. And now it needs to flow, and some of it needs to go out through my limbs, through my teeth, through my legs, and some of it needs to just flow within, and some of it is new and it doesn't know yet where it wants to settle, right? And so this is why continuing the affirmation, continuing to choose your thoughts, continuing to observe what's happening, continuing to stop whenever there's a roller coaster of overthinking, why not, and why do I need to deserve what I want. You don't need to deserve it. It's only you allowing yourself, but following through the whole process of changing this information within your being, within your body, within all of it. All of it is activated. So I encourage you to see pain during energetical healing. This is something I didn't really understand, and I was always like terrified. Oh my God, why is my pain spreading now? Like, I've only had the pain in one place, and now I feel the whole side of my body, right? And it's like spreading. It moves, and it's getting worse, right? It seems as it's getting worse, but actually that can be a sign that it's getting better and that it's reprogramming the cells within your body. Obviously, have a checkup, check that everything's fine on the physical level, because we're talking on the level of energy. We're talking on the level where the x-rays and the ultrasounds and the CTs haven't found anything physical. That is not my experience. I cannot advise you. I'm not a doctor. Cannot advise you on that. I talk about chronic pain on the level energetical, before it manifests into disease, before it manifests into something visible that's like graspable and that we can fix, before it's the problem, the pain that's here with us, the stagnant chronic pain. So this is a preventative thing we can all do, and we can lead a pain-free life. We can prevent having pain associated with menstruation. That's also a limiting belief. Pain associated with stress, etc., etc. Basically, with experiencing life. Yeah. So pain is your control, and it doesn't have to be painful, because we can allow ourselves not to try to interfere, not to interfere then, and to trust and to be